What if you could turn a plain planter into a vintage masterpiece with just rice paper, clay, and paint? Stick with me and I'll show you how to create a waterproof work of art that's both stunning and functional. Hello my crafty friends, I'm Donna from Mason Creations, etc. and welcome to my channel. So if you're ready my friends, let's make a mess. I found this cement planter at a local nursery. I fell in love with the shape of it. But if you're going to decoupage a planter, you need to make it waterproof if you want to keep a live plant in it. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that today. The first thing I'm going to do is wipe off all the dust and debris. I just dampened a paper towel and wiped it down inside and out. Now I'm going to seal the planter on the outside as well as the inside. I'm using Polyvine Heavy Duty Extreme Varnish in a satin finish. This is what will make your piece waterproof. This product is made for exterior use and extreme weather conditions. It's great on surfaces like wood, concrete, brick, etc. It's waterproof, high chemical, and high UV resistant, as well as drying ultra hard for great protection. This product cures in just 16 hours. Painting this on the outside and inside will keep my decoupage paper from becoming ruined. If you follow all the steps I'm going to show you today, you can keep a live plant in this container and not have to worry about it becoming water damaged. I'm giving it a quick sanding with some fine grit sandpaper and then wiping off the dust. This makes it perfect for accepting paint. My crafty friend Diane W. requested some flower pot ideas. Here you go, Diane. This video is for you. I'm giving the planter a coat of white paint. I'm using Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color cotton. Make sure you always paint white or a very light off-white wherever you're going to decoupage rice paper or a napkin. White allows the colors in your images to look more vibrant. Dark colors will make your images look dark and muddy. I'm painting the entire outside and a portion of the inside of the pot. I went down about 2 inches from the top. You'll see a little of the interior of the pot because the soil won't go all the way to the top. I gave it 2 coats of paint to make sure it was completely opaque. I didn't want any of that gray showing through my rice paper. I'll let that dry for about 30 minutes. I can't even tell you how much I love this paper. I think the colors are just fabulous. They're so soft. I got the A3 rice paper because it's a little bit bigger and fit all the way around my planter. That way I didn't have to do any paint matching. The A3 papers measure 11.7 by 16.5 inches. And that gives you a little more paper to work with. I'm putting the large flowers in the center of the pot and measuring from the top and bottom to remove some of the excess paper. I'm leaving a little extra so I don't accidentally run short. I'm using a water brush to tear the paper to size. A water brush has a cartridge that you fill with water and then brush it on the napkin or rice paper. The water dispenses easily, so this is really convenient. You can find this in my description box below in my favorite tools section, just in case you want to check it out. This and all the products you're going to see me use today came from decoupagenapkins.com, my wonderful sponsors. I made sure the seam in the back lined up straight and then turned it over. I'm using the Heavy Duty Extreme Varnish as my decoupage adhesive for this project. This way I'm only using one product and it's adding another layer of waterproof protection for my beautiful planter. All the Polyvine varnishes can double as a decoupage glue. This varnish is water-based, so there are no harmful fumes, and you can wash your brushes with soap and water. I'm putting it right over the paper. Because it's a varnish, it'll seep through to adhere the paper perfectly. I'm saturating it pretty good, especially around the edges. I'll let this dry for a few hours before moving on. Where are you all watching from, my crafty friends? Let me know in the comments. I just love to see what cities and countries all my friends are watching from. I'm filming from sunny Las Vegas, Nevada in the United States. It's dry now, and I'm going to remove the excess paper hanging over the edge. I'm using some medium grit sandpaper, and I'm going in a downward motion. If you go upwards, you risk pulling the paper away from your piece. The sandpaper cuts off the paper sharp and precise, which gives you a nice clean edge. You can't get this close with scissors. I'm removing it from the top and the bottom of the planter. When you add a plant to a pot, the soil never goes up to the top of the container. I'm using some of the leftover pieces of my rice paper to add on the inside lip at the top. That way it looks pretty on the inside too. I test all the products that I recommend in my videos. I won't recommend anything that I haven't used myself and prefer. If I'm recommending it, you can bet it's a great product. Each product will be listed in my description box below, and will have a blue link to make it easy for you to find. Any of the links I provide are safe for you to click on. After everything dried, I gave the entire piece another coat of the varnish to protect everything I just did, as well as another layer of waterproof protection. I paid special attention to all the edges to make sure I had everything glued down properly and nothing was lifting. Then I let that dry for an hour. I'm going to paint the very top edge with Pentart white gold. I'm using a sponge dauber because it has a flat surface. This is just perfect for painting a flat surface. All I have to do is put paint on it and place the flat side of the sponge on the flat surface of my pot and drag it in the circle. Voila! Absolutely perfect. I went around twice to make sure I had good coverage. Make sure you stick around. Next I'll be adding some beautiful air dry clay embellishments, and wait till you see what I do with them. I'm using my favorite DOS clay to make some embellishments for this project. DOS clay is so easy to work with, dries quickly, and has very little shrinkage or cracking when dry. It's perfect for making molded pieces. If you want to see an in-depth video on how to work with air dry clay, click the banner in the top right corner of your screen. I'll also leave you a link for that video in my description box below. After pressing the clay into the molds, I'm scraping off the excess with my palette knife and then smoothing the clay out with some water. Then I'll put them in the freezer for 20 minutes. Freezing the clay makes it rigid so they just pop out of the mold easily. No tiny little limbs will break off. Fresh out of the freezer, watch how easily these just pop out of the molds. No delicate little pieces will break off. They are frozen solids, so I'll need to let them thaw for a few minutes, but not in the mold. Make sure you remove them from the mold right away as soon as you take them out of the freezer. I normally take this time to remove any pieces of clay that shouldn't be there and clean up the edges a little. I'm removing this little branch that shoots off to the side. I'm going to place it on there separately. I'm going to use Aleene's tacky glue to add my molded clay to my piece. I need to add this while the clay is still wet so it'll conform to the piece as it dries. This is the best glue I've found for attaching wet clay. If any glue seeps out from under the clay, I'm removing it right away with a clean damp brush. I'm also pressing down all the edges of the clay very delicately to make sure they're all connecting with the piece. I'm wrapping some of the flowers, leaves, and stems over the top of the planter. I just love that effect. DecoupageNapkins.com has such a great selection of napkins that you can purchase one at a time. They carry many other craft supplies such as rice paper, paint, clay, molds, and a great selection of Polyvine products. Over 9,000 products and growing. They are wonderful to work with and will send your order out fast. You'll receive free shipping on orders over $75 and special bonus points for orders over $100. Subscribe to their newsletter by entering your email address, and you'll receive 10% off your next order. They are truly your one-stop shop for craft supplies. Make sure you check them out. I'll be leaving links for all the products I use in my description box below, as well as more information on the previously mentioned promotions. Please note that any of these promotions are subject to future changes. I let my clay dry overnight, and now it's ready for some paint. I'm using Pentart White Gold. This color is so pretty, and I just love Pentart paints. They are so smooth and creamy with fabulous coverage. Most metallic paints take 2 to 3 coats. These cover in 1 coat. I painted all my clay and then let it dry for about 30 minutes. Now I'm looking at this planter and thinking to myself that the bottom looks unfinished and too plain. So I think the bottom needs just a little something. Stick around and see what comes next. If you're enjoying this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. And why not share this with a friend? Thanks for doing that. You won't want to miss any of the new projects coming up, so don't forget to subscribe. This mold looks like little beads, and I thought this would be a nice but subtle choice for the bottom. Not too much, but just enough to get rid of that unfinished appearance. I glued them on separately for each section because it's a little bit of a sharp turn and I didn't want the clay to crack when drying. I let the clay dry, and now I'm going to paint it with that same white gold. The turquoise item that you're seeing me use is called a cup cradle. It's made from silicone and I rely on it a lot. I use this anytime I'm working on something round. It keeps my piece from rolling away from me. I get a lot of people asking me what it is. There'll be a link in my description box below, just in case you want to check it out. I'm going to be doing some antiquing, and for that I need a shiny surface. I'm giving all the clay embellishments a coat of my extreme varnish, and I'm making sure to get on top and all around each one. I'll let that dry for an hour, and then we'll move on to the antiquing. I'm going to be doing a very unique technique. If you're new to my channel, it's likely that you've never seen this before, so don't run off yet. I'm mixing my own antique using a glazing medium and some paint. I put about a teaspoon in a little paper cup and then added just a few drops of paint. The glazing medium prolongs the drying time of the paint. This way you have a longer working window. Before you apply any antiquing, you need to have a satin or gloss finish. This will allow you to wipe the antique off the surface and it will remain in all the cracks and crevices. Without a shine on the surface, the antique will grab onto the bare paint and you won't be able to wipe any of it off. I always add a little water to my mixture because I prefer my antique a little bit runnier. I'm applying it with a brush and wiping it off right away with a soft dry cloth. I'm mixing up the antique in a color that blends nicely with the green leaves in this paper. To do that, I'm mixing Pentart Pine Green and Pentart Dark Blue. The color needed to be a little more drab or neutral, so I added some dark gray. That worked perfectly. Now the color looks great. I ended up putting so much extra paint that I had to add a little more glazing medium and water to get it to the correct consistency. The Polyvine Heavy Duty Extreme Varnish that I put on the background is already dried and cured since it's been over 16 hours. This product is chemical resistant, so if I got some paint on the paper area that was a little stubborn, I wiped it off with Windex. This dark green antique almost gave the gold a vintage tarnished look. I just love it. That is the fun thing about glazing medium. You can turn any color paint into antiquing. This can really open up your creativeness when planning projects. I let the antique dry for several hours. Now I'm going to give the entire planter a final coat of the extreme varnish. I'm coating the inside and outside. I want to seal all the antiquing I just did, as well as give it a final layer of waterproof protection. This was 3 coats on the inside and the outside paper area, which is recommended for the most protection from water. If you wanted to wash this planter, you can certainly do that, but hand wash it. Please don't put this in the dishwasher. Also, don't leave it submerged in water for a length of time. The manufacturer warns against these actions. That would also break down your clay embellishments. However, you can put a live plant in this and water it regularly. I used this product before on a terracotta pot and kept a plant in it for quite a while with absolutely no problems. I'm going to add some beautiful gold highlights to all the embellishments. I'm using redesigned Decor Wax Rub in the color Eternal. This is a beautiful shiny gold. I'm putting a small amount of the rub on my finger and rubbing it together with my thumb. Smearing it around like that prevents a large amount of your product ending up in one place. Don't forget, all of the wonderful products I'm using today can be found at my favorite place for craft supplies, decoupagenapkins.com, and I'll leave you links in my description box below. I let the Eternal Wax Rub dry for a few hours, and now I'm buffing it to a beautiful shiny gold. And the background paper area dried to such a gorgeous hard shine that it looks like marble. I've added a link to a video that I think you may enjoy. Click the picture on the right to be taken directly to that video. I'm so happy you were here with me today, and thanks so much for watching. I can't wait to see you all next week. I'm working on a new project with you in mind. You can subscribe by clicking my picture in the top right corner.